Good morning, everyone. We are about to start. Good morning and welcome to this session, and a very important session on geoinfrastructure, youth and GEO Indigenous Alliance. Here at ODOK 2026, we are continuing the ODOK sessions. My name is Letwin Pondo. I am User Engagement and Youth Coordinator for the GEO Knowledge Hub, and I'll be your moderator for the session this morning. I think one thing is becoming increasingly clear across the symposium and the sessions that the future of Earth intelligence is not only shaped by technology, by softwares, by satellites, by AI, or by data systems alone. It is also shaped by people, by communities, through collaboration and participation. And that is exactly why the specific session matters. So in this session today, we're bringing together conversations around youth engagement, indigenous knowledge, accessibility, open knowledge, and the role that the communities play with evolving geo ecosystem. As you're already seeing this momentum already across the various geo initiatives and activities, we recently had the Calibrate Earth Observation Challenge with Ghana. We also had the Geo Youth poster session competition. So we are witnessing young people using Earth observation and open data to address real world challenges and societal problems. We're also seeing growing excitement through other various initiatives that we're going to learn from today, from the colleagues here in front with me. So you have a very interesting lineup and different experiences from different organizations and different regions across the world. So with that, let us begin. Our very first presentation is going to come from none other than me. So I've already introduced myself already, so I'll just dive right into it. Thank you so much. Today I want to talk about a vital intersection that will also define the post-2025 strategy for the GEO community, the intersection of young generations and indigenous insights. For a very long time, many of us have treated youths as like end users of data, and indigenous knowledge and indigenous communities as passive observers of academic research. But today we want to kind of challenge that narrative by showing you how young people and indigenous communities are not just consuming the open knowledge, but are actively building, safeguarding, and validating it even from the grassroots level. So there's this gap that I want us to look at during this first presentation, the gap that we have in open knowledge, where we have young people, where we have the youth, and we have open data and open knowledge at the other side, and we also have indigenous insights contributing to this whole scenario. We celebrate when a massive data set is made open to the public, but when we simply tick the box of openness, we don't really solve the real world problems. We have other things that go missing. The links they rot, metadata goes missing. But on the other hand of the spectrum, we have traditional funding models that are highly rigid and like they're just top-down models that dictate exactly how data should be used or interpreted, stripping away its flexibility for these communities to use or to work across. But as you see, open knowledge changes all of those things because it allows access, it allows participation, it allows collaboration, innovation, and also inclusion. This one will be the end of us. Okay, thank you. So I have this, what we call the cycle, the knowledge cycle. So if you notice within our communities and within our organizations or our companies or wherever, it's usually the offices that make these maps, the dashboards, outputs that we want the world to interpret the world as. We make them, we give them the outputs. This is the map. This is how you're supposed to go. This is where this is, which is not bad. But in majority of these cases, oh gosh. Yesterday it was already. Oh, okay, thank you. It's probably the proximity with the. Somebody can move them for me? It's probably the battery. I will, oops, sorry. You maybe they can, yeah, move them from that end. Yeah, okay. Go back. Go back. Back. Okay, thank you. Oh, next. Good, thank you. So I was saying it's usually the offices and our systems that make the maps. So we're taking them from our offices and imposing on the communities. We are just giving them those maps which are not flexible for them to like manipulate. They just have like, this is what is supposed to happen, or this is what is on the ground. We're taking this and giving it to the communities, and the communities have to work with that because we are the ones who are producing the maps. Next slide, please. But in essence, most of those things, I will not say all of them, but some of those things are not really working to what communities are really facing. For example, I'm working on a thesis that I'm trying to understand this intersection and how we are like not supposed to be imposing things on communities because they have a lived experience, some of which do not relate to the maps that we're just imposing on them. We have a community, I've just put an example here of a mother with a crying baby. The communities are crying in our hands, like, okay, fine. These guys are just giving us things to work with, but in essence, that is not how things are supposed to go. Next slide, please. So I would say the best or the better way or version of working through it is coming from the community. Okay, communities, what do you face? What's going on? Talk to us, right? We have that conversation with communities and they define the boundaries and everything that we want to talk about, that we want to have in the conversation. And then we take them to the offices now, to our desks and to our so sophisticated ecosystems and softwares. And then we have something that doesn't only speak to our impact, but also speaks to the voice of the communities. And after we've integrated all this, we now come back to the concept that we've been talking about throughout yesterday of a knowledge package. We have everything and every resource brought together to form this kind of knowledge package. Next, please. So also the challenge that we have here, I had to reiterate it, that the challenge that we have is not youth interest, but the challenge is just access, inclusion, and support. I will not say much about what youth need, what they don't need, how can we support them. We've been having those conversations over a while now, but in your different ecosystems, you know how you can include the youth, how they can access, and how you can support them as well throughout this journey. Next. So I've just also highlighted here that open knowledge, it being open doesn't mean it should not erase ownership, it should not erase consent, or it should not erase cultural context. It's open knowledge, it's supposed to involve the communities. That means it's supposed to, if it means it has to be what do you call it, given credit to, you credit to the rightful people, you credit also to the right sources so that it doesn't lose its value along the way, along the chain of going through all these processes. Next slide, please. So the biggest question here that I think we should ask ourselves in all this is, who is still excluded from these open knowledge systems? We know what we're supposed to do, we know what they are, but who is still excluded from these open knowledge systems is what we're supposed to think about during this session, because open knowledge must also mean that something is understandable. People understand it, that's open. People can reach it, it's open. People can afford it, now it's open, and it's inclusive to everybody. Now we're talking about open knowledge. So in all this, we throughout the session, I want us to think about this very important question. Next slide, please. So I put here as next steps a little bit of points that we can also think about. We could institutionalize youth roles as data creators, not just as students or observers. We could fund knowledge packages of a short-term project. Short project dashboards. We should also respect and embed Indigenous-led data governance protocols into all our systems and structures. That's in summary. Next slide, please. So in all this, the future of open knowledge is not only going to depend on satellites, on AI, on data systems or infrastructure, it is also going to depend on communities, on collaboration, on shared knowledge, on the indigenous wisdom and the young people that are willing to contribute. We don't own the work. We don't own the work and we don't impose solutions on communities. Our job is to listen longer than it feels comfortable, provide flexible open building blocks, and empower the next generation to drive the change. We should just move past this rhetorical wand of openness and build data infrastructure that is truly great, deeply inclusive, and lasting. So with this, I thank you so much. And okay, thank you. Great, thank you so much. Moving on with our presentations, we are going to hear a presentation from Kwanele Ngongoma, who is based in South Africa, and unfortunately he couldn't be here with us this minute. So we have a recorded presentation of Kwanele that we are going to see on the screen.
My name is Kwanele Ngongoma. I want to start with a question, one I've been sitting with for a while. What does it actually mean to be a young person working with data that could change how your country responds to a flood, a drought, or a disease outbreak? The question is at the heart of why I'm here today. The session is about youth and about open knowledge and about what happens when young people stop being passive observers of Earth observation and start becoming contributors. I want to talk to you about the GEO Knowledge Hub and specifically about the South Africa's Knowledge Hub, what it is, what it does, and what it meant for me personally to be part of building it. The GEO Knowledge Hub, or GKH, is an open source digital repository created by the Group on Earth Observation. It is designed to make Earth observation knowledge open, authoritative, and reproducible, not locked behind paywalls, not siloed in institutions, available to anyone who needs it. Think of the 3 pillars you can see on the slide. Open data, freely accessible Earth observation knowledge for everyone. Collaborative, built by and for a global community of researchers, governments, and citizens. Reproducible, authoritative, verifiable knowledge that supports real-world decision-making. And at the global level, the platform organizes knowledge around the GEO focus areas, things like One Health, climate, energy and urbanization, weather and disaster resilience, ecosystems and biodiversity, land and water sustainability, agriculture and food security. These are not abstract categories. These are defining challenges of our generation. And now, through the National GKH, the same framework is being brought to individual countries, starting with South Africa. The South African Knowledge Hub is managed by SAGEO, the South African Group on Earth Observation, a forum that mobilizes South African Earth observation communities for societal benefits. The SAGKH is a dedicated portal where you can find Earth observation specifically EO solutions specifically tailored to South Africa's challenge. It connects researchers, government agencies, civil society, and the public to data tools that matter here in our country. And what makes the National GKH significant is not just a copy of the global platform. It is a localized, customizable environment, one that can reflect the identity, priorities, and needs of South Africa. Country-specific themes, local stakeholder networks, enabling mechanisms like Earth observation infrastructure and data governance. These are built into the platform by design. The goal is to make Earth observation knowledge not just available but accessible. Being involved in the development of the SAGKH was not a passive experience. It was an indication, one that no classroom had fully prepared me for. I want to get personal for a moment. There were 3 things I took from the experience. Complex project development. The first thing I learned was actually takes to bring a complex multi-stakeholder project to life. You have technical requirement, you have policy consideration, and you have community needs. You have to hold all of those simultaneously. You are constantly negotiating between what is ideal, what is possible, and between global standards and local realities. Data collection and curation. I was involved in working across various public sector databases in South Africa. That sounds straightforward, but in practice, it means understanding how different institutions structure their data, what standard they follow, and where the gaps are, and how to bridge them in a way that is useful and trustworthy. Global collaboration. I collaborated directly with GEO Knowledge Hub team, an international group of diverse disciplines and cultural backgrounds, working across those differences, navigating different ways of thinking, communicating was one of the most valuable experiences I've had. Together, we contributed to new features in this platform. Expanding information available on GEO Knowledge Hub made interface changes that improved accessibility and usability. Every one of these changes had a real-world consequence. It determines whether a researcher in Limpopo can find what they need, whether a student in Cape Town can understand what the data means. This is a small work. This is not small work. This is consequential work. The young people can and should be doing it. What brings me to the question this session is really asking: how do we equip young people to engage with open knowledge systems like GKH? From my experience, 2 categories of skills matter enormously. Technical skills. You do not need to be a software engineer, but you do need digital fluency. Understanding how open data repositories work, being comfortable with the data formats, metadata standards, and APIs. Knowing how to evaluate data quality, provenance, and increasingly understanding how platforms are built so that you can advocate for features and interfaces that actually serve your community. That GKH itself is built on open source infrastructure, which means young people can contribute to its development. That is an invitation, but only if you have technical literacy to walk through the door. Data is never neutral. Earth observation data is powerful, but it needs to be interpreted within context. Social, ecological, historical, political. Young people need grounding in geo-focus areas. Yes, but also in how knowledge is produced, who it serves, and who it has historically excluded. This is where Indigenous knowledge perspective becomes not just relevant but essential. I believe that SAGKH, as it evolves, must create spaces for Indigenous-led approaches to be integrated alongside Western climate scientifically data. The combination of technical and theoretical skills is what allows a young person to go from consumer to contributor, from someone who uses the platform to someone who shapes it. The slide behind me lays out a practical pathway for any young person who wants to engage. Step 1, explore. Start by discovering EO data and tools on SAGKH that are relevant to your community. Visit the platform. Step 2, understand. Build your technical and theoretical literacy. Use GK learning resources. Attend SAGO community events. Engage with knowledge already on the platform. Step 3, contribute. Once you understand the platform, contribute data, improve metadata, and collaborate globally. Join the data curation and metadata enhancement initiatives. Step 4, shape. Be at the table when platforms, policies, priorities are set. Influence not just what data exists, but what questions that data is used to answer. This is not a distant aspiration. This is a pathway that is open right now to young people across the and across the world. Let me close with this. South African Knowledge Hub exists as an intersection that matters, the intersection of open science, national capacity, global collaboration. It is a living platform, not finished, not static, but growing. Young people are not just the future beneficiaries of tools like the SAGKH. We are people who should be at the table when those tools are built, collecting the data, curating the knowledge, shaping the interface, and asking the hard questions about who the system is really for. This session is about fostering inclusivity and empowering underrepresented communities in GEO. I believe that starts with giving young people across South Africa and across the globe the opportunity to do exactly what I got to do. Real work with real impact on platforms that real people will use. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was a presentation from Kwanele Ngongoma. He has played an active role in developing the South Africa National Knowledge Hub. So he was sharing from exactly his experiences in developing such a platform specifically for South Africa. We had more feedback yesterday from Dr. Zebola, who is also from the same initiative. So we'll move on next to our next presenter, who is going to be Andy Nelson from ITC University of Twente. Unfortunately, he's not also here with us, but he's a professor of food security and spatial agriculture at ITC. He chairs the GeoGlam Capacity Development Working Group and coordinates the Erasmus Mundus GAM Joint Masters Program, and is a senior editor for food security. I think the presentation that we're going to hear now is from Andy.
Hello, my name's Andy Nelson. I'm from the Faculty of Geoinformation Science and Earth Observation, also called ITC, at the University of Twente in the Netherlands. First of all, thank you, Letwin, for the invitation to join the session today on geo-infrastructure, youth, and the GEO Indigenous Alliance. I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I hope you find this video informative, and I'll be happy to join online the discussion at the end of the session. In the next 7 minutes, I want to introduce Geoversity, our open learning platform for the geospatial community, and explain why we think it has something to offer the conversation you're having today on youth and Indigenous engagement in open knowledge. First of all, what is Geoversity? Geoversity is an online, lifelong learning platform built by the ITC faculty at the University of Twente. ITC has been teaching geoinformation science and Earth observation for 75 years, with a long-standing focus on learners from the Global South or the majority world. Geoversity is the next chapter in that mission. A free-to-browse digital space where we publish courses, articles, videos and podcasts, and where partner organizations can host their own open content. Our ambition is straightforward. Become the place where the geospatial community comes to learn. So who is learning on the Geoversity platform? And this is the slide I most wanted to bring to this session. It has a lot of information, and I'll pick out some of the key figures. In 2025, Geoversity reached learners in 174 countries. Our top 5 by traffic are India, Algeria, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal. Many of our almost 15,000 unique learners from last year are early career, students, young professionals, and people retraining into geospatial work. 97% of them say the courses are well organized, and 97% of them would recommend them to others. I mention this because the GEO community has set out very clearly that youth and underrepresented communities should be at the center of Earth intelligence for all. Geoversity then is one piece of infrastructure that is already reaching those communities at scale, in their countries, in their own time. It's not a youth platform by design, but it is being used by the people that you want to reach. Geoversity has open content that goes beyond courses, so it's more than a course catalog. In 2025, we published 46 articles, 53 short videos, a podcast series, and 18 long-form videos featuring researchers explaining their work. That content all sits openly on the platform and on our YouTube channel. For a young learner who is not yet ready to take a 40-hour course, this is the on-ramp. Short, free, and easy to share. We treat editorial content as a deliberate way to lower the barrier to entry. Geoversity is also about partnerships that really work. Geoversity does not produce all of this content on its own. We host courses developed with partners such as NASA Severe, the Netherlands Space Office, the Netherlands Court of Audit, NV5, and the Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam, among others. The Court of Audit course on geospatial auditing, for example, is offered free to supreme audit institutions worldwide. This is the partnership model. A credible partner brings the subject expertise, we bring the platform, the instructional design, and the learner community, and that content stays open. So Geoversity and the Geo Knowledge Hub, where can we connect? Where does Geoversity fit alongside GEO's own open knowledge infrastructure in the Geo Knowledge Hub? So the Geo Knowledge Hub holds open knowledge packages, data sets, and workflows from across the GEO work program. It's a really impressive repository of information and knowledge across a really diverse community. It's a really powerful asset. But reading a knowledge package is not the same as learning from it. Geoversity can help turn that knowledge into learning pathways. And the people who finish those pathways are exactly the contributors that the Knowledge Hub needs next. So to put this in concrete terms, what can Geoversity offer the GEO community through the GEO Knowledge Hub? Here are two concrete things that we would like to do with you. First of all, to co-design and build with GEO partners an Earth observation learning pathway aimed at students and early career practitioners and professionals. Part of this learning path will be short courses, providing basic skills and showcasing the intended learning outcomes of the whole pathway. Second, we'd like to amplify youth and Indigenous voices through Geoversity stories, short articles, podcast episodes, and video shorts featuring people from the GEO Indigenous Alliance and youth programs. If any of that is interesting, please do get in touch. The Geoversity platform is at geoversity.io. And Ledwin, again, thank you for including us in this session, and I look forward to the discussion.
Well, that was incredible from Andy. Also amplifying that we need to have youth voices and the Indigenous communities represented in all our work. Without further ado, I'll move on to our next presenter, who is here. You must be excited. We're going to move on to a presentation from Erin Martin on opportunities to make Earth observation data and tools more accessible for the youth. So Erin Martin serves as a member of the EOTech DevNet Secretariat through the support of NASA. An expert in strategic communications, program management, and partnership building, Erin has worked with international agencies, NGOs, and private sector partners on a wide range of development challenges. She has more than 2 decades of experience living and working in the Global South. She's a former journalist in US Senate Press Secretariat and holds a master's and bachelor's degrees from Stanford University. So ladies and gentlemen, Erin Martin.
Thank you. Good morning. Are you out there? Are you alive? You're awake? Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Letwin, for that generous introduction. I didn't realize you were going to read all of that, but I'm so glad to be with you today. And I think that potentially I'm going to be preaching to the choir here, because I think if you're in this room, you care about youth and you care about Indigenous knowledge, and you're thinking about ways to improve the situation that we have now. But maybe what I can say today gives you a few talking points for information that you can share and you can bring out. I'm joined by my colleague Martina Gorska, who's sitting in the front row with me. She's a partner in EOTech DevNet on the Secretariat through EO College, and she's based in Germany. I'm based in the US, and so we bring some great teamwork across the ocean. So I think moving to my presentation, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about EOTech DevNet. Oh, do I need the clicker? I'm in control myself. Voila. Okay, great. So just a word about EOTech DevNet, this organization with a strange acronym. It's the Earth Observation Training and Capacity Development Network. We were created 5 years ago. We're celebrating our 5th anniversary. We were born out of the CEOS Working Group on Capacity Development. Some of you may know CEOS. It's the Committee on Earth Observation Satellites. It's essentially the global association of space agencies. And they've been working on capacity development for a number of years and decided that there needed to be an effort to promote coordination and collaboration among the global providers of capacity building. And so you see the leadership partners are there. GEO, of course, is a very active member, and Paula here is on our leadership board, and we're so grateful for the engagement of GEO and our work. UN Office of Outer Space Affairs and 2 WMO entities, Education and Training and VLab, are our leadership partners. And the idea is that all of these agencies not only have their own huge capacity building programs, but they also have vast regional networks across the globe. There are centers of excellence, there are training centers. And so the idea of EOTech DevNet is to really leverage all those resources and build on what exists already. And our aim is to think about extending the reach of EO capacity development globally. So we focus a lot on promoting best practices, on exchanging knowledge, and thinking about expanding access and uptake to this. Operationally, our key action areas are around communities of practice, and some of you in this room have participated already in our regional communities of practice that meet quarterly. We have flood working groups, drought working groups, and we've also spent a lot of time more recently looking at ways of aggregating information and pushing it out to the communities and making it more accessible. I'll talk about that in a minute, but that's a little bit about EOTech DevNet. I just want to emphasize that we've been supported by NASA and by the German space agency DLR for our entire 5 years, and we're very grateful for their support because it makes it all work. So why should you care? Why should anybody in this room? Why should anybody upstairs in the other sessions? Why should they care about youth and capacity building? Because it is our future. We all have a huge vested interest in whether the youth of today are prepared for the workforce of today, of tomorrow, of the day after. Who's going to take care of your health care? Who's going to take care of managing your parks? All of these functions increasingly are becoming more connected to geospatial information. And if we don't prepare the youth of today for that challenge, how are we going to survive ourselves? So we have a vested interest in this ourselves personally. But one of the things that's kind of interesting about the situation from what we've learned through EOTech DevNet and through our work with communities of practice and talking to agencies, government and non-government business, is that there really is a huge amount of capacity building available. There's a huge, you heard from Geoversity, but we could probably put another 10 agencies together to show you their extensive capacity building resources. And so the supply is high, but then we also know the demand is high, that there are lots of users out there who want capacity building around Earth observations, GIS, other forms of digital technology. And so, but we still have this huge gap in the middle of people not necessarily being able to access the tools. You know, the learning resources are a little bit fragmented. Richard's nodding, so I'm on the right track. And if you were here yesterday, you heard our colleague, Dr. Kofi from Ghana, also talking about some similar situations with the broader data environment. You know, we've got these challenges of languages, connectivity, not enough information locally tailored. And so we've got to figure out ways to disrupt this, you know, to build these barriers and move forward, to think about how we can help youth. Another key question to ask is, when we're doing this capacity building, are we building the right skills? And are we actually equipping youth with the skills that the workplace wants? This is a really critical question. And I've got some data here from EARSC, which is the European Association of Remote Sensing Companies. And I believe they're also upstairs presenting right now, but they do an annual survey of companies in the space sector to ask them about various challenges. And every year they ask this question about, are you having a hard time finding employees? And consistently, they find that, yes, it's close to 80% of having some difficulty hiring. So employers are struggling with this. And it's not just a European problem. Whoops, I skipped a slide. There is evidence that we see from other research that's being done that it's a global challenge, and that this study from IEEE GRSS talks about the workforce being 10 to 15 years behind. And we really have to think about how our role and how we can do a better job there. Also, similarly, from the World Bank, there's evidence from African business leaders that they are worried about the digital skills. We do webinars periodically. We've done a couple with GEO, which has been great partnership. And the things we're also hearing is that youth have a different demand for the kind of capacity building they want to see. They're more interested in hands-on training, practical guidance. They want more showcases and tools. And of course, there's strong interest in AI and really wanting to have customized learning paths. So perhaps the modalities that we've been using for decades need to be adapted a little bit. So here's what I propose. I think we have a lot of resources. We are in a position to make a lot of progress. But the thing, we've got to redouble our efforts and recommit to collaboration, outreach, and innovation. And I think if we really keep these values in the front of mind, we can make a lot of progress. I'm going to give you a few examples of collaboration. Space for GEO is a fantastic 3 minutes. Where does the time go? Space, we can talk about this a lot more. Martina can tell you a lot about Space for GEO. It's a great partnership working concretely on developing skills and skills pathways. I mentioned EOTech, our work. We were spending a lot of time trying to aggregate resources to help with discoverability. We have a searchable database on places to find training, so you can visit our website, and I have some nice cards here we can share. So you can find these resources. We also have trackers for droughts and flood tools, but it's a way of trying to just pull information together, make it more accessible. You know that there are a gazillion platforms out there that are already reaching youth, but are we linked and are we reaching them effectively? How do we leverage the work of the GEO youth community of practice and put our weight behind that to really build there? And that's something really critical to think about. Another key point is this idea about innovation. Remote Sensei is a really interesting initiative by EO College and Ignite Education, which is a German startup, and they're building these learning pathways so that a user can come to Remote Sensei and then plan their own curated education. But the question is, how do we get it back out to the community? Eve is another really interesting virtual expert that just launched this week. That will be interesting. How do we get it out to the community? NASA has a great program called Earthrise Developers Academy, which is a 10-week hands-on co-development process for early career people. So there's all these different things out there. There's lots of innovation, and we just need to figure out how we kind of loop it into this system. Another quote from that same IEEE GRS research that talks about bringing the collaboration together, bringing industry and academia together and thinking about how to do it. And I just want to say, I was so interested thinking about when Sven was speaking about GeoGlam, thinking about the complexity of the GeoGlam environment and all the stakeholders that they have, and globally, politically, academically, tremendous complexity there. And they've spent a lot more than a decade, I think, working to build an ecosystem. And that's the same kind of strategic approach we need to take with youth, is we've got to think about it strategically. We've got to think about the broader ecosystem and how we can really support each other. So we're not doing webinars alone. We're not doing workshops alone. We're continuously thinking about how can the GEO Youth Forum support what the NASA RSET training program is doing, and thinking about ways to promote the resources, leverage the resources we already have. So innovation, collaboration, and outreach are my messages, and I hope maybe I have 3 seconds left. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erin, and for the great timekeeping. But now you got me thinking. So that means I could be going with the right pace, but with the wrong skills set. Oh my God. Okay, this world is evil. Are those free?
Yes.
Okay. Give me. Thank you. Hello, good people. These are free. Do you mind distributing? Do you mind? Thank you so much. We move on to our next presenter. I don't know. The last time I introduced him, I was shaking, I was excited, I was screaming and all that, but I'll try to be calm today. But ladies and gentlemen, our next presentation is going to come from Richard Fu, who is a 17-year-old Chief Executive Officer of Helios. It's a London-based project launching a satellite into space to monitor urban heat islands. He is passionate about tackling climate change and the world of aerospace, believing that the field has massive potential to tackle our planet's biggest challenges. He's a member of the Royal Aeronautical Society and is enthusiastic about using small satellites to completely transform the uses of space. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Fu.
First of all, thank you, Letman, for the invite and the generous introduction. I am not as big as she says, but I hope. But I mean, today I'm hoping to sort of give everyone a gauge of what this project is, because it is, in my belief, very meaningful and something that is definitely worth talking about. Sorry, let me get my notes up just to. Oh. There we go. And also, thank you everyone for being here, and thank you for the incredible presentations we had. They were very insightful, and I certainly have a lot to hopefully add to the conversation. So before I jump into what the project is, I think I should probably also tell everyone a bit more about myself and why I'm getting into this. Because I remember about 7 years ago, actually sitting in an English lesson, listening to a presentation about endangered animals that really got me into environmental issues in general. And as I sort of discovered the issue further, I realized how complex and how massive of a challenge this tackling well, environmental issues, the climate crisis, everything is. And fast forward about 7 years, now here I am, because I genuinely believe now is the time that I can make an impact. Now is the time that I can take some action on it, and that is why we some of my colleagues sat here today are doing this project. So let me just jump straight into it. Yes, so we are tackling specifically the problem of urban heat islands, so extreme heat in cities. According to I believe it's the World Health Organization, urban heat islands and extreme heat costs about 500,000 lives a year, and I think we all should agree that that is 500,000 too much, and 2.5 trillion in damage according to the World Economic Forum. And there are quite a few problems that we've identified through conversations with various end users. We need to have more conversations, by the way, but through the limited conversations we've had with end users, we've identified quite a few problems. First of all is the inconsistent data being used for large sort of cooling investment decisions. In no small part, a lot of different places, we are lucky to be here in Geneva, in London, where I'm from, and also in more developed cities, they have a pretty complete data set of urban heat, extreme heat, and different things. However, there is a data gap. A lot of different places, maybe cities that are rapidly developing, rapidly expanding, they might not have the complete data set required to fully make an informed decision about how to tackle this problem. And there are a few other issues. One of the issues is the lack of solution-oriented data. So there is not enough conversation. And yeah, as Erin said, we're probably preaching to the choir here, but there is not enough conversations we are having to end users, and that is precisely why I'm here today as well, to hopefully talk to a bit more different voices from different countries, from different places, and institutions, companies about this issue and how they are finding this tackling this problem of extreme heat. So this is the problem and the data gaps that we identified inside the urban heat ecosystem and the challenge that is facing us in terms of extremities in temperature. So this is what Helios is. We are a CubeSat project. That's actually it's a cuboid. So I don't know what. Well, I think it's because the base is a cube. We're stacking essentially 6 cubes in a certain formation. It's about the size of a shoebox, and we have 2 payloads. We have a hyperspectral camera and a thermal camera. And it's going to be in orbit at 500 kilometers above the ground. We are measuring surface temperature, vegetation and water cover, and soil moisture. And we are expecting this to be likely 18 months in orbit, launching in 2027. These are the 20 cities. The map shows the 20 cities that we are targeting for this first mission. And about 380 million people live and work in these cities. So it's a pretty broad reach, and it's across the world, across a lot of continents. So that hopefully addresses the data gap in various places. And there is a 1 to 2 day repeat time and quite a high resolution, which I'm going to get to in a while, in a couple slides time. This is a kind of as well a proof of concept, because if this mission is successful, this shows that we can use this model to scale up and provide more data rapidly to other cities. The advantage of CubeSats specifically is that these are a smaller type of satellite that are cheaper to launch compared to many bigger modules, which costs millions of dollars or pounds. And that is why we have chosen this form factor, this smaller satellite, while delivering the same, if not a larger impact compared to cost. This is our model. You can have a look at it. I'm not going to delve too much into it because I've got plenty more information about the data, which is probably more useful to people here and people on the live stream. So this is the key data, as mentioned: land surface temperature, soil moisture, and vegetation and water cover. Those are our resolutions, and we would definitely like to host this on the Geo Knowledge Hub. This is our base layer of data, and it's worth noting that although the raw data for land surface temperature is 85 times 85, we are thermal sharpening it based on our soil moisture and vegetation and water cover data to sharpen it to 16 by 16. And we have a sort of example image. It's a very, very rough indicator of what how the resolution changes. The photo might not reveal too much, but in reality, the resolution is everything, because if you're able to deliver a higher resolution, that means that you're able to reach downstream users and local communities more, because you're able to monitor individual streets and individual districts, and therefore you're able to see kind of what the difference is between even the neighboring street, what the difference between the challenges that they face in terms of extreme heat are. In addition, we focus on solutions. These are some of the solutions that we have identified. The first one isn't really a solution, actually. It's development of urban heat islands over time. We're going to compare to existing open source data sets online as well, and within the GEO community. And yeah, these are some of the solutions that we are looking at identifying. And specifically, the way we're doing this is actually in two kind of layers. I will explain. So basically, we have a sort of layer A, and we have a type A layer and type B layer. The A layer is essentially life risk, because, as mentioned, 500,000 people die every year because of extreme heat, and so life risk, and this is absolutely not for compromise, should be free and should be uploaded and should be free for everyone to use. This hopefully will address the data gap that many countries and cities are facing. The other aspect is asset risk. So this is mainly targeted to insurers and companies and stuff, because they also do have their assets impacted by this. So this is the two kind of streams that we're going in terms of our layers. And more on the solutions that I was talking about just now, we're doing this in a sort of two-pronged way. The first one is to identify areas where solutions can be implemented through the data that we are collecting. So, for example, where we can reintroduce wildlife and reintroduce parks and maybe retroreflective services, etc. And the other layer is, and the third layer is solution impact. So identifying existing solutions, because we launch in 2027. So identifying solutions, how solutions are, well, making a positive impact on cities is also equally as important as identifying places where it can be implemented. Yeah. So this is some of our team. The ones highlighted in orange are the ones that are here today. Some of my colleagues are actually upstairs in different sessions, but I have also got Sath and Sharon here, part of my team. And yeah, I'm going to stay on this slide for a sec, and I'm going to move to the other slide because there are more people involved. This is an incredible team. I'm very proud to be working with them. And yeah, you guys are amazing. Yeah, there we go. Cool. I'm going to move on to the next slide just to keep track of time, just to be conscious of time. So where we go from here, we have completed our what we call a critical design review, which means essentially our engineering design is complete. We are now building our flight software and getting it to 3D print. The next steps afterwards are assembling the model, testing it, and then we're aiming to launch in no later than Q2 2027. And well, as mentioned, we are here to, in no small part, learn, because, as mentioned, there is a data gap, and so we want to hear from different communities, both upstream, the providers, and downstream, the users, how they are finding this problem, how they're finding connecting with communities, how they're finding listening to individual stories and things like that. So city authorities, meteorological and space agencies, and climate research institutions, I might also add the Geo Knowledge Hub continuing our partnership, and the GHRS, which Martin is, I think Martin's upstairs chairing a session right now, presenting a session right now, but the GHRS is one of our partners as well, and we would definitely like to partner with different people in this panel as well. So that is, I mean, there are lots of potentials to also, well, share data with different initiatives like, well, EOTech, DevNet, and share our experiences as well from this mission. So yeah, last but not least, these are our LinkedIns if anyone wants to scan the QR code. Yeah, thank you for presenting. Thank you for listening to our presentation. And yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well. I didn't do anything wrong, you know. You just proved yourself, so I did nothing wrong. But actually, I'm a bit hurt, you know, on the focus countries that you have. Come on, you have me here, and there's no Zimbabwe on the map.
We will have Zimbabwe for the next one. It's a skill up. It's a skill up.
Okay, fine. Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But well, thank you so much. We're going to move on to our last but not least presentation from Diana. Dynamo Strategy is the international strategic liaison for the GEO Indigenous Alliance and founder of Space for Innovation, working at the intersection of indigenous-led innovation, Earth observation, ethical AI, biodiversity monitoring, and space research. Her work focuses on indigenous data sovereignty, relational approaches to biodiversity, and the core design of technologies that respond to community priorities. And she's going to talk to us about next steps for indigenous-led climate action through the GEO Knowledge Hub. Over to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation and to all the panelists. Before I speak today about platforms, tools, maps, or data, I want to begin with something more basic, time. Because the work we're talking about today is not only about observing the Earth, it is about what communities remember, what young people are inheriting, and how technology can help us make better decisions. Sorry. For most of us, time appears simple. It is what the clock measures. It tells us when a satellite passes overhead, when a meeting begins, when a project ends, when a reporting deadline has been missed. Much of our institutional life is built around this kind of time: budgets, grant periods, deliverables. But the Earth does not move according to our project calendars. Rivers do not wait for reporting cycles. Animals do not move according to our funding deadlines. Droughts, fires, migration routes, grazing patterns, and ecosystems collapse unfold across longer, deeper, and often less convenient timelines. Even modern science reminds us that time is not as simple as the clock on the wall. Satellite systems themselves depend on a more complex understanding of time, movement, position, and gravity. For many indigenous people, the idea that time is more than a clock is not surprising. Knowledge has long been carried through relationships with land and water, with animals and seasons, with ancestors, with young people, and with generations not yet born. Knowledge moves across generations. A satellite image may show the vegetation has changed. A sensor may record movement, a microphone may capture a sound, but a community may know when that change began, whether it is normal or alarming, what it means for water, animals, safety, or food, and what decisions need to follow. That knowledge may not always look like a formal data set. It may live in memory, in observation, in seasonal practice, in the authority of elders, stories, in names of places, and in the way people notice small changes before they become visible to institutions. This is why intergenerational knowledge matters so much for geospatial work. It is not about placing traditional knowledge beside modern data. It is about recognizing that communities often hold the context with which data remains incomplete. When young people use maps, satellites, sensors, drones, or AI, they're not only learning technical skills, they're learning how to read change across generations. They're learning to ask, what has disappeared from this landscape? Who remembers what was here before? What risks are becoming visible? What is missing from the map? And what decisions are being made today that future generations will have to live with? Geospatial technology is often presented as a way of seeing the Earth from above. That view is powerful, but it's not enough. In Indigenous-led work, geospatial technology also needs to help us see from within a place, through memory, language, lived knowledge, responsibility, and relationship. That is where the real power of youth engagement sits for the GEO Indigenous Alliance, not only in training young people to use tools, but in supporting them to connect with what is measured, with what is remembered. These tools maps, satellites, and sensors can reveal patterns that would be difficult to see otherwise. But as I mentioned before, data does not interpret itself. A map can show where something is happening, but it cannot always tell us why it matters. That meaning comes from people. It comes from those who know the place, those who remember its changes, and those who will live with the consequences of decisions made from this data. So the question is not only whether Indigenous communities have access to geospatial tools, the deeper question is who defines the problem, who interprets the evidence, and who has authority over the knowledge produced. The ODOK is one example of this working practice. It was an Indigenous-led project supported through the Lacuna Fund ethical AI work with field sites in the Ecuadorian Amazon and northern Kenya. The project brought together sound data, biodiversity monitoring, and AI, but the center of the work was not the microphone or even the model. The center was interpretation. In this image, young Shuar scientists are working with sound data and bringing uncertain sounds back to their community. This detail is very important. When a sound was not immediately clear, the answer was not simply to run another model or collect more data. This question moved back to the people who know back the territory, the elders and the knowledge holders, and community members with deep ecological memory. The Tomeka tip helped create indigenous-led bioacoustic biodiversity datasets, but the sounds were not treated as technical data alone. They were interpreted through ecological knowledge, lived experience, and community authority. For me, this is also a story about youth. Young people were not only learning to use new technology, they were helping connect AI, sound data, and older systems of knowledge. They became the bridge between the tools and the territory, between the model and the memory of place. Over the years, we have developed a new way of co-designing technology with and for Indigenous communities through what we call the Indigenous hackathons. The challenges do not begin with the technology, the challenges begin with the community. Elders help guide the questions, the youth bring creativity, local knowledge, and the urgency. Scientists, developers, artists, engineers, and geospatial experts then work around priorities defined by the community itself. And one example is the Namunyak app, a Samburu-led geospatial tool designed to help map wildlife, water grazing conditions, environmental change, and other observations that matter for local decision-making using only local symbols. In a landscape so arid that has severe droughts, and women and youth walk for days on end to collect water, the ability to share location of water can be a life and death situation. And this work now continues to evolve. We are now exploring collaboration with the World Environmental Solutions, who have developed technology to generate clean water from the atmosphere. One machine will be donated to the Samburu school, and with the youth, we will explore how the sensor data on temperature and humidity coming from the machine can support a local network for clean water and climate monitoring. And for me, this is what Indigenous-led innovation means. Technology is not the starting point, the community priorities are. And this brings me to the GEO Knowledge Hub. For the GEO Indigenous Alliance, the Knowledge Hub is not simply a place to upload outputs. Its value is helping us create a responsible pathway for sharing Indigenous-led methods. This means working with communities to decide what can be documented, what should remain protected, who gives permission, how the knowledge is described, and how others are allowed to use it. The point is not to extract Indigenous knowledge into the platform. The point is to help communities and GEO partners understand how Indigenous-led geospatial work can be shared with context, consent, attribution, and governance. So to conclude, young people are inheriting changing landscape, climate instability, new technologies, and decisions made before they had a voice in them. They're also inheriting knowledge, memory, creativity, and responsibility. So the question is not only how we train youth to use geospatial technology, the question is how geospatial technologies can help them carry this responsibility across time. If time is remembered, lived, and carried, then Earth intelligence cannot only be about observing the planet. It has to help communities interpret change, protect relationships, govern data responsibly, and make decisions with future generations in mind. And that is the opportunity for GEO, a deeper form of environmental intelligence, one that connects technology with memory, with authority, accountability, and responsibility across generations. Thank you very much.
Well. Thank you so much, Diana, for this really inspiring insights. Time is more than just a clock. I'm learning. Thank you so much. We have a little bit of time for some questions, but we have to make it a bit quick. So let's see who has questions in the room. Who has questions? Let's just raise our hands so that we move from one person to the other. I see one hand, two. There's three. Oh, there's three. Okay, so let's start from the back. Then, oh, there's someone behind you. There's a lady behind you. Yeah, sure.
How it works. Hi, Dilek Preisel from the International Institute for Applied Systems Analysis, and I'm also the Managing Director of the Citizen Science Global Partnership. I don't have a particular question, but I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed the session because it has all the keywords that I'm using in my work on a daily basis: community, youth, indigenous knowledge, and everything. But there was one missing: citizen science. So I wanted to bring that up into attention as well, because a lot of the things that you were talking about, probably we can tap into the power of citizen science and engage in youth to address all those issues like the data gaps that you've been highlighting, Richard, in your talk, and skill development and addressing environmental action and the environmental issues that we've been talking about in this session. Thank you so much. And just wanted to say that I would like to talk to you after the session if you have time, and maybe we can collaborate further.
Okay, thank you so much. I've taken note of that, but also to highlight that in as much as you didn't hear that specific word right now, we had a lot of that yesterday, which is not bad. Thank you so much for that. We come to you.
Okay, I have two comments. Yes, Latwin, in your presentation you mentioned something like research object. Maybe that will be good to look what is running under European Open Science Cloud, because there is hard work on the design of the research object like ROHAP and such activity in European Open Science Cloud. This is one thing. Second is a little, could be a comment. Yes, it is mentioned knowledge. Yes, but I think that most of the things which was mentioned here were more about sharing the data and information. Yes, knowledge for me is something a little higher, and probably will be good in some way to start combine this with the way, for example, what Felipe showed yesterday. Yes, to more included artificial intelligence, language model, metadata, to be able to integrate the things and to bring this to the people, because in many cases young people or also farmers or another are not able to study thousand and thousand research documents. Yes, they have very often not skills to work directly with the data, but this new technology which is now coming with large language model, generative AI and another, I think that it could help really bring this to much bigger community. And I think that the yesterday presentation of the Felipe, but also from GRC, show something in this direction. And also we are ready to cooperate on this, because we are trying to work on this concept. So I think that this could be something for future.
Okay, thank you. I'll come to you in a minute. I had a hand some, yeah, sure.
Hi, I'm Kayla Abrida from Servier. And I had a question around similarly to access. I was wondering if you could answer, how do we get vulnerable youths or indigenous communities involved in mapping when there might be a lack of technology access, or similarly but separately when mapping becomes political?
Happy to answer that question. Thank you. So that's the reason why we developed the indigenous hackathon methodology, which allows the communities themselves to co-design tech based on their priorities and needs.
Yeah. Go ahead, Paula.
Thank you very much. My name is Paola De Salvo. I'm a GEO Secretariat staff and a GEO Infrastructure Coordinator together with the team of Felipe, Kalamkas, Letvin, and Abdul, who is remote. I really would like to congratulate all the speakers for the very amazing presentation and amazing message you are been passing. And we are very, very proud, honored to be able to work with you all. You all mentioned from South Africa. Kwanele is not here with us today. He was supposed to be traveling from South Africa to come here. Andy from the Netherlands, Richard, Erin, and Martina, for which we are proudly collaborating, and Diana with the Indigenous Alliance. This proudness. Yes, knowledge, Karel, you are rightly mentioned, is this combination of different data, satellite in situ, script, modeling, training material, everything together to be able to reuse it without much bottleneck. But I think, Diana, you highlighted something very, very important here. With the uptaking of new technologies, AI and everything else, why we are here today? We're here today because we are a community. We're a community and we have trust each other. We have this common good of a common objective to support our planet, to be a better place, to support the youth, to support and to work together, to co-design, co-develop, and in a community-based approach. And this is, we can have disruptive technologies, we can have amazing things, but if we lose that community power, we do nothing. And that is just a comment and nothing else. And thank you for being here.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Paula, for the intervention. Before you come, I just wanted to also add to your question on how we can get vulnerable youth involved. In my case, in one of the projects, because when we tried to, they don't have like smartphones in some of the communities, and for you to give them smartphones and try to explain the technologies of how they work, it was kind of complicated. And when you try flying drones, everyone ran away. Like, what is that? So it was just us in the ground, and then you would feel bad. So we just had to do like some paper maps. You just put the common roads and the common shops or anything that is common to them, and ask them, okay, just explain, this is your shop, this is your house, so from here what else is there? And then they'll just put a dot and say, oh, there's a neighbor here, I have a neighbor who stays in the other side. And then you just try to orient the map yourself here, like the other things. But that's how I could, or one of my projects could involve the youth, because in those vulnerable communities, because bringing all these technologies to them was like something else. But yeah, over to you.
Yeah, it's on. Okay. I have a question for Richard. So it's really impressive, all the work you have done. I mean, all the team that you are engaged. And sometimes that makes me reflect about, for example, that sometimes see youth like a really passive kind of community that they receive information. But my question is how your team speed up regarding all the information and skills needed to build like a cube or that kind of things. And also thinking about the global idea, like how that knowledge you having gathered with your team can be transferred or kind of connected with like South, Latin America, Asia, or other kind of South kind of hemisphere. So I don't know if you haven't think about that, or how is the situation from the youth in that part of the world? Thank you.
So thank you for your questions, by the way. It's great to have questions. So first of all, on how the team sped up regarding the information and skills needed to build this satellite. Honestly, a lot of things you sort of learn while you're doing it. So because of circumstances and people we're partnering with and sort of delivering things, we've had to sort of speed up learning. And well, I think for one, making good use of AI. AI helped a lot with sort of learning complex concepts, but also consulting partners. We're based in London. We have not just teachers, but people like professors. We did have a conversation with a professor from UCL a while back about sort of data collection and strategies, for example. So consulting technical experts, a combination of that, accelerating learning using AI, but also sort of different pulling in different people to teach us some crucial skills, and also just the existing skills. There are a lot of transferable skills as well doing this project from different things. I can't name an example off the top of my head. Let me think. So say, I mean, for example, to run this project, and I've done in my school previously things like model UN and that kind of stuff. These sort of skills are those skills that I learned from that are sort of transferable over to here. So using a combination of transferable skills, or consulting technical experts and sort of accelerated learning using new technologies, so AI, that's how we got the skills needed. In terms of how the knowledge can be transferred, honestly, we don't have a concrete answer to that yet. We are currently focusing on sort of delivering, talking to more end users, which are communities, local communities, especially as you mentioned in the Southern Hemisphere, because there is a data gap there. So how that knowledge can be transferred, we're focusing on sort of contacting and talking to more people from the Southern Hemisphere, and from that, I think we can extend further to young people through universities and research institutions, and also partnering with the great panelists we have today to connect to communities themselves through the incredible projects that they're rolling out. So yeah, I think a combination of that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we have exceeded the time, and but well, thank you so much for attending this session. If any of you has any other questions or interventions, please, the panelists here, I'll make them wait so that you can talk to them. But well, thank you so much for the interventions and all the comments. I want to urge you not to leave this room only inspired, but also I want you to leave connected, challenged, and ready to contribute. I want you to think about this conclusion, as we have heard from the different speakers, that the future of open knowledge and Earth observation or Earth intelligence cannot only be built by technology alone. It will be built by people, and people at the center of it all. But well, yes, thank you so much for attending this session, and thank you for all your contributions and for paying attention. Thank you so much. I guess we have a break before the next sessions. Thank you so much, and see you around. Thank you.